Kia koutou, e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hero News. Kia ora, Jordan Rivers, sir. How are you?
Mate. Oh, not too bad. I'm good. On the end of a flu at the moment.
Yeah.
So I've been homesick for a while, but it's probably been good for me to be home and relaxing for a bit there and just spend some time with the dog.
You're one of these guys who kind of always got something on the boil, eh? Fair?
Yeah, I don't often say no to something that's come up, any opportunities to do stuff. Bit of a compulsive hobbyist.
Tell us about you, because I mean I know you have several fingers in several pies. How do people mostly know you, and what do you do for a sort of a 40-hour a week or so to speak, if anyone does that anymore?
I don't really do one. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'd say most people know me on here. People will probably know me from TikTok or Instagram, but it's always been something different. My main thing on social media started out as language. I was making videos about the evolution of language and linguistics. And then you can't really talk about the evolution of language without talking about cultures. And then once you're talking about that, you're talking about colonization, and then suddenly you're political. Everything eventually becomes political. But that's definitely how most people know me, I'd say. Besides that, it'll be my short wee stint as Barney Livingston, the con man on Shortland Street. Is probably my other one.
What were you conning? What was the conning part?
Oh, I wasn't a very smart con man. I remember my character was actually cheating the nurses out of all of that massive amounts of money that nurses earn, making them invest in a fire festival island experience.
All right.
Yeah, it was a complete rip off the Netflix doc.
It wasn't actually called fire. You didn't call it Fire Festival, did you?
No, we called it. What was it? Rico Fest. It's called Rico Fest on Shortland Street.
Right. Nice. Is that the only thing you've done on Shorty Street? Because I've been on like 3 different times with 3 different characters.
Have
they
you?
just don't give a fuck. Yeah, they just don't give a fuck. The funniest story I tell about Shortland Street was I had a younger sister-in-law back when I was married, and she used to love it. And so she'd watch the kind of year-old repeats in the morning, and then the new ones at the night when they used to do that. And I was on both in the same day. I was on the morning as one character and the night as a different one. So good old Shortland Street.
That's right.
My main character was Merv Granger. I was a security guard. Merv Granger at one stage.
What a good name.
Yeah.
Good name. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But then I was also a repo guy, and I was a mentally disabled person that got accused of rape as well at one stage.
Fantastic.
Didn't have names for those guys.
You got deep storylines, man.
Deep storylines, man.
All right. Oh, we're both shorty stars.
Yeah, well.
Pull up your IMDb. Let's see what you got.
But who hasn't been on Shortland?
No, don't diminish it. I hold on to that.
It's a little bit like if you are a movie actor of the era who wasn't in The Lord of the Rings somewhere. It's that kind of thing.
I lament the fact I never made it there.
Yeah. So anywho, thank you for jumping in. Our lovely wee Wookie, I think he had his concert in the weekend. He went to the UK to see a band. That's just how committed he is. And I saw lots of stuff on his social media because he's a bit of a World War I nut. He went to a tank festival, watching tanks roll past him. I saw that in the weekend. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, he's having a blast over there. So whilst he's doing that, we've got a bunch of you guys coming to have it with the co-host. So thank you for bringing some well-needed talent to the show finally.
I'm excited for the week ahead. I've seen your schedule. I've seen some people on there. Bree Elliott in there. I think you've got old Ackland in there as well.
Yep. We had Bree last week. Ackland's this week. We have got Jared Otto tomorrow and Bomber on Thursday. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. And then next week, we've got some more kind of the younger TikTok people coming on as well, because I think it's been nice to, I mean, this is not you, everyone knows you, but some of the younger, newer faces to get them in front of the audience as well and say, hey, these are people, because next year is going to be huge, and I would like as many progressive leftist voices as possible to be cutting through into the information zone. You know, and so anything I can do to help and get some names out there, we will. Not that we're particularly special, but that's all.
There's
good.
a few I've been watching since I believe Parliament had their young MPs.
Yep.
There's a few I've been watching that have come through there. I watched a lot of their speeches, saw them at Parliament. I just thought they were really interesting. They've got their own little platforms now that are building up on TikTok. We're following them. Yeah,
very cool. All right. Well, there's lots going on tonight. We've got kind of I don't know how I was going to describe that, a Christopher Luxon sandwich. That might not be quite right. We've got Luxon coming up tonight talking about a bunch of different things. He's going to feature in a couple of stories about, is it time to say, I'm actually, to be honest, I'm getting pretty pissed off with this whole, we're going to say something about Gaza later this week. Just you wait and see. Because he's said so many times in the last few days, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Well, just fucking do it. Yeah. So basically you're saying it's going to happen, so just make it happen. And today I think it was Canada and Australia and the UK all recognised Gaza, which I think is an interesting way to look at it. You know, when you walk past someone and then you realise, oh, hang on, I know you. It kind of feels like it's with Gaza. Oh, hey, I recognise you. I've seen you around. So we'll have a look at a bit of that. But also, Mehdi Hasan there was an event in the UK this week at Wembley called Freedom for Palestine. It was a fundraising concert, and he did like a 4 or 5 minute chat there about journalists in Gaza, and it's brilliant. And we're going to just play the whole 5 minutes and have a bit of a squiz.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah. And also, it's kind of hilarious. Christopher Luxon and Nicola Willis on the economy at the moment. You know, the economy is doing this downhill, and Christopher Luxon's like, oh no, Nicola Willis, the best we've ever had, best for the job. You know, she's never looked back. And it's just like, dude, Roger Douglas is coming out saying, yeah, I think that she should resign. It's like, Roger Douglas?
Yeah, Roger of all people.
Yeah, of all people. So lots of stuff going on. Often on a Monday we talk about what's happening in the weekend, though, Jordan. And I have to say, in the weekend, because it's on Netflix now, I saw, most people call it Tina, but I think she pronounces her name Tina, the movie of the Samoan lady who goes to teach in a well-to-do, primarily European school in Christchurch after the Christchurch quakes. I watched that over the weekend, and to be honest, I was watching it partway through, kind of going, not exactly the same, but this is a bit like Sister Act. You know, inspiring teacher comes in. It's nice because it's about the choir. But there's a few twists and turns in there, and I can see why it's got like a 98% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, because it's a very different finish to those kind of Hollywood style love fests, which I won't ruin for people. But it's on Netflix now, so if people are Netflix, you should go and check it out. It's a very cool Kiwi movie, and it's made by the Magasiva boys, I think, because they do a dedication at the end to Pua, who of course lost his life so sadly. But yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it, actually. It's a really good
I'll
flick.
check it out. I was really worried. I think I went to go see another movie when that was out at the cinemas, and I saw the amount of people coming out of there crying, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm ready to put myself into that. I just know it's going to be a bit of a tearjerker.
That would be the ending I'm talking about, not talking about. It
sounds amazing.
Yeah, look, to be fair, if I was being a critic over it, the storyline at parts is a bit clunky. People who have seen it will know what we're talking about, to do with why people are sad. It just kind of pops up out of left field why people are sad. But, your sense of disbelief. If a man from Krypton is the strongest thing in the world and we can disbelieve that storyline, then sense of disbelief. How I would describe it is a lovely flick. A lovely flick.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Anything for you over the weekend? Anything interesting going on?
Mate, I was just recovering. I got really sick last week, and I'm kind of on the back end of it now. And then it just, as it is with most actors, I got really sick and then suddenly got all of these auditions. So I spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday just doing auditions whilst also trying to pretend like I'm not really sick and sending off these tapes.
Yeah.
And so who knows if I'll get them, but I won't have the same gruff voice if I get them that I had in the audition.
Yeah, they'll phone you back. Go, I really like that kind of morning radio jock voice you had. That kind of really sits with the character. You'll be like,
it's good.
That was for a moment. Also watched the Bob Marley biopic over the weekend as well.
It's the latest one, because there's a few.
It's the latest one. Yeah, it's called One Love. It's on Netflix. I learned something, that during the assassination attempt on Bob Marley, his wife got shot in the head, and her dreadlock saved her. So there you go.
Far out.
So I can only assume, not that I know too much about firearms, it was a low caliber type thing, and the knotted dreads did just enough to keep it up. But technically, and she's still alive. I did a bit of Googling on her. Got shot in the head and survived.
Do you remember back in the 2000s, Nandor Tanchos had like a special pass because he biked to Parliament, right? But his dreads wouldn't fit in a helmet, so he had a special pass that said that his dreads if he wrapped them in a certain way would be enough protection, would match the helmet.
Well, I guess Rita, I think her name's Rita Marley would be evidence for that.
So, yeah. And also bulletproof.
Yeah. Yeah, and also bulletproof. The other thing is, I don't know what you heard about the South Island this weekend, Jordan, but we were having this weather bomb coming and these warnings. And, man, Dunedin, gorgeous weekend. Not a breath of wind, a blue sky. It was beautiful.
Well, I'm Wellington, man. We get weather warnings and like, oh, look, the weather's going to be, hurricane speeds. And then it happens, it comes, but it's always like that. It's never, like they always give us weather warnings, and I'm like, this is just like it was last week.
Yeah,
I'm used to it now.
Did you know about that? Nandor's going out for mayor. We had him on 3 weeks ago. We had a good chat.
Did you have Nandor on?
Yeah.
Oh, he's interesting guy. I've got a lot of time for Nandor. Yeah, he's I've already been watching his race recently because he started sharing some of my content to his page, which for me is quite a cool thing. I think having grown up and seen him when I was a kid, seeing him in Hey Andrew, seeing him in Parliament and whatnot, and just think he was a cool guy.
Yeah.
So it is. I would love to meet him one day. I'm jealous that you guys got to have a chat with him.
Yeah, he's one of those characters, but I'd never, through what I've done in the media world previously, I've spoken to a lot of people. It was the first time I ever talked to him, so it was lovely as well.
Yeah.
All right. I've got one other little thing to show before we get going. But first of all, Citizen Gold is giving us his daily countdown. This is apparently 453 days at most until the next election. Gold's just keeping us up to date on that. Although, Gold, you got challenged by Craig Rennie. He said 408. So we've got a bit of a nerd off here. We might have to do a bit of counting and check that out. But at the moment, we'll go with Gold.
That's too many days.
Peter says, guys, I'm beginning to think Luxon is a bit shit. Really? Don't know. Don't know. And Kiwi Bird, for Jordan, what's your advice for older folks wanting to get into acting? Oh, there we go. We've got it. This is an AMA with Jordan Rivers.
Hey, mate. Yeah. Look, if you've not done the 48-hour film fest, I highly recommend that. Pat, you must have done it before.
Yeah,
sometime in life. All New Zealand filmmakers have started or at least done the 48-hour film fest. I'd absolutely start there. Anything that gives you parameters and a genre and some things you have to use in an outline is just such a great way to start. So give that one a go. If you've done that before, try the overseas. I did the 72-hour festival, which was an Indigenous film festival around the world, where it was myself in combination with a bunch of Navajo members, filmmakers from overseas as well. And we made it across line. But yeah, find a competition that gives you parameters. Start there.
Local body elections is coming up. A little bit of a heads up for people who are in the regional council for Wellington. There is someone running called Nigel Elder who decided to respond to a constituent by saying this. Hey, Gwyn, thank you for your email. However, I'm not sure I can help you. You appear to be focusing on elections taking place in a country called Aotearoa. The elections I am participating in are taking place in a country called New Zealand. Do let me know if you decide to do a piece on New Zealand as well. Nigel Elder, Act Lower Hutt. So there you go, people. Just Paul Barlow has a very good red flag series. I'm jumping on Paul's red flag series and going, people of Lower Hutt, be aware. Be aware. They're out there.
God. Can I just say, last week was Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori week, and it was brilliant. I saw so much interaction from everybody across the country. But one thing that struck me is, maybe you guys already covered it, is we had Christopher Luxon do his abysmal post on Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori week, which almost felt like a parody. The official page posted Muldoon's Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori radio ad. And it is, it's Muldoon's. You're not really that impressed because Muldoon, right? But it's probably like 3 minutes long. And he does probably more Te Reo Māori than I've heard Luxon speak in his entire time as Prime Minister. And the way that Muldoon speaks about the importance of Te Reo Māori is like, it's almost inspiring. But then you keep remembering that it's bloody Muldoon. But yeah, honestly, I thought it was amazing. So they posted his radio post.
Might try and find that for later in the week. I was unaware of that, and we might try and find that because that sounds wonderful. Let's say a big hello and a huge thanks to our patrons for being on board. You guys are the oil in our engine. Well, that sounds a bit wrong. Can I say that? Anyway. You grease our wheels, baby. I'm sorry. It's just sometimes the lips don't stop what wants to come out. Well, that sounds. Oh, we're going to stop. Okay. A huge thanks to Maya and to Nabby, who are new patrons, and also to Kerry Moses, who in the last few days upped her patronage as well. Honestly, without being too eat ass, bro, without you guys, this literally wouldn't be happening. So we thank you, and I know people who enjoy the content thank you, and it's one of those crazy things, Jordan, I've said it before, you know that old adage that if I've seen further, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So we get to see because we're standing on the shoulders of the patrons, and we genuinely believe that, so thank you for being a part of what we do. Love you guys, and we might have a meetup this Saturday, an online meetup, so just throwing it out there to your patrons. Okay, there's a couple of other things coming up, but first of all, maybe we'll do Mehdi first, actually, because I've got some... It's not really news around Mehdi, but news around what Mehdi's got to say that we might actually share sooner rather than later. So there was a concert in the UK. It's at Wembley, and it was called Together for Palestine. And Mehdi came out. The lady who does the introduction completely butchers Zateo. His company's called Zateo. She completely butchers it. But he does a piece really around journalists and the journalists in Gaza who are being murdered. Like we said last week, Jordan, or a couple of weeks ago, you know how people wear those press things across? I was like, actually, they're supposed to wear that for protection, but it seems that you're in more danger at the moment if you've got one of those on from what's happening in Gaza. Mehdi kind of says that in a much more eloquent way. I don't know if there's too much we're going to interact with here. People often we jump in and out, but it's 5 minutes of Mehdi Hasan explaining why the journalists in Palestine are, quote unquote, the best of us.
In Gaza, there's a real responsibility to bear witness to the full story. To tell us about the challenges of that, please welcome an award-winning British-American journalist, CEO and editor-in-chief of the new media company Zato, Mehdi Hasan.
Was that Hot Wings lady?
Zateo, we just get out there, people. And at the moment, Mehdi Hasan is the yardstick for communicating in the mainstream media as to what's happening in Gaza. He is the yardstick. I mean, there's many people who are doing it well, but because of his journalism and places he's getting, no one's doing it, I don't think, more effectively on a mass scale than Mehdi Hasan at the moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Wembley. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends,
comrades,
for the past 23 months, we have been lied to, manipulated, misled, gaslit, and not just by Israel, but by our own mainstream media. When it comes to the genocide in Gaza, Western journalism has spectacularly failed us. And so it infuriates me when people say Israel needs to allow journalists into Gaza. Yes, Israel does. But Western media must stop acting as if there aren't any journalists in Gaza. The bravest journalists in the world are in Gaza right now. Palestinian journalists. 270. That's how many Palestinian journalists.
Chicks, this all freak out. Just so you people know that sometimes when we interrupt like this and you get annoyed, we have to, and on some level, because you have to manipulate the audio to be able to be using it. So just so you know, we do it. I'm sure Zateo would never complain about what we do. But there's a number coming up here now, a fact around that 270 that will, if you haven't heard it before, I think will shock most.
Israel has killed in Gaza more than were killed in the First World War, the Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War combined. Combined. 270 Palestinian journalists killed on the streets, in their homes, with their families. Killed not in spite of the fact that they were wearing a vest marked press, but because they were wearing a vest marked press. They were not killed by accident as collateral damage. No, they were killed as part of Israel's deliberate campaign to blind the world, to erase all evidence of their crimes. Because to the genociders, there is nothing more dangerous than a camera lens or a microphone. And so they murdered Anas al-Sharif, Hossam Shabbat, Mariam Abu Daqqa, Roshdi Siraj, Muhammad Abu Hattab with 11 members of his family, Bilal Jaddallah, and hundreds more whose names will never be read aloud on CNN or the BBC. And by the way, shame on those Western journalists who have said not a word about the mass killing of their Palestinian counterparts. Shame on them. As a Western journalist myself, I can tell you all this. The Palestinian journalists, they are the best of us. They are the best of us because they are not just documenting a war or a genocide, they're documenting their own annihilation, their own starvation in real time. And so they have shown the world that you can't bomb the truth away. Say it with me. Say it with me. Say it together. You can't bomb the truth away. I can't hear you, Wembley. Louder. Let's do it again. You can't bomb the truth away. Every fallen journalist leaves behind their footage, their words, their examples. And so it's up to each and every one of us to carry their work forward. Let us honor their sacrifice, not with fear, but with courage, not with silence, but with our loudest voices, not with despair, but with open defiance. To the fallen journalists in Gaza, to the murdered journalists in Gaza, we say your voices are our voices. Your struggle is our struggle. And your truth will not die. And to Israel and to its allies in the media, to those who think they can censor us with violence, with threats, with smears, hear us tonight. Hear us from Wembley. You will not silence Gaza. You will not silence Palestine. You will not silence the truth. And one day, one day soon, Palestine will be free.
So, a couple of other things to add to that. But first of all, Jordan, if that's the first time you've seen it, we'd love your response, your thoughts around that.
It makes me wonder if Hasan knew that starting Zeteo, I mean, it's a pretty young organization, isn't it? It started with only 4 guys, right?
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if he wouldn't have known. But I imagine getting to that stage, you'd be like, wow, I can't believe that this is doing this at this point, because we really need Zeteo. We need platforms like that. And especially when I forget what the latest stats were, but it's like 80% of like this kind of media, podcast media, is pretty right-leaning. There's a severe lack of left-wing voices, and as a result, reason out there on any issue, especially this.
Yeah. I saw a headline. I haven't got it to show, but people can look it up. And it said 15 out of 16 of the deaths in Gaza at the moment are civilians. 15 out of 16. So when they say things about Hamas this and Hamas that, yada, 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 it's like they're killing 15. For every 16 people they're killing, so for every one Hamas terrorist they want to get, they're killing 15 civilians. It's just off the chain.
It's heartbreaking as well. It's heartbreaking because people will hear that stat and then still try to justify it. They won't even try to argue that it's wrong. They'll be like, yeah, there are still people like that.
We've done something once before within Gaza. We can't do much. We know we're being realists here, but we've raised a bit of money for this group, medical aid for Palestinians. If you heard the refrain that Mehdi said, this one, you can't bomb the truth away. This one, you can't bomb the truth away. What we're going to do is we've got an incredibly limited run of T-shirts and hoodies. You can't bomb the truth away. And we will give a portion of all the profits to medical aid for Palestine or Palestinians, MAPS.
That's awesome, bro.
So if you want to get involved, when I say limited run, then we may do 20 of each sort of thing. There's not going to be a lot. But if you want, well, I mean, the more we do, the more we can give to MAPS. But our first run that we've done is very limited. It hasn't got any BHN branding on it. We made the decision not to because it's not about us. It's just the refrain that Mehdi said. You can't bomb the truth away. I think it's fairly obvious what you're talking about with that big flag in the middle. You can't really get it like. So if you want one, you want to help support what's going on in Palestine in a very minor way by helping us make a donation to medical aid for Palestinians, and also helps us as well, then you can head to bhnshop.nz. You can also go to our new website, and if you go to the front page of the new website, the new merch is right there on the front page, new merch available, and you can just click through there, and even though it looks a bit different, it goes to all the same places. We've got small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, 3XL. I believe we can also get hold of a 5X and a 7X if anyone really wants one in that sort of size. Contact us just through the email, mail@bhn.nz, and we'll try and hook you up. You can't bomb the truth away. Hoodies and T-shirts, we're going to keep them up for, well, probably until they're sold. Like I said, maybe we'll only do 20 or 30. I don't know, depends how much you come back with. But support us, and more importantly, support the medical aid going on in Palestine. I've spoken to the people at MAPS, and they are very grateful for any support we can, anything, but they're so busy they can't even talk to us. And I'm like, cool, of course not, no problems at all. No one in England can talk to us because that's just how busy they are. So if we can, I think last time we gave them about $600, $800 or something like that. We'll see what we can do again, but we'll try and get some dosh for them to at least do a little something.
That's awesome.
It always feels a little bit kind of, we're just can't do much, but we can do a little something. So that's what we'll
if everyone does a little something though, you know what I mean? Like
then that ends up being a something becomes a big and something like that.
Big and something. That's definitely the correct term. Yeah.
So they're up on the shop now. They're up on the website now. As I said, they'll be there for a week or two. I don't know until we basically sell out or run out. And yeah, support the cause. Cool. Some chats that have come in. Oh, look at this. It is an AMA for Jordan. What acting advice would you give to Seymour?
Something people might not know is that Seymour started in acting. So when Seymour was like 8 or 9, he played young Sir Edmund Hillary in a TV1 special.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember
about old mate climbing the mountain there. But no, he doesn't need any. He needs some help writing his comedy because, man, he's falling flat lately. I think people are starting to see through his fake drop lines. But no, I think if anything, he's probably got fantastic media training, probably through Atlas. He's quite a good actor, actually.
I think the next question might dovetail off that. Kiwi Bird wants to know if you can do your best Canadian accent. I mean, I'm thinking about David Seymour and that French-Canadian stint he did as well. I don't think we should be asking Jordan to jump through hoops tonight, Fano. He's not 100%. Just leave him alone. He's all right.
Cheers, mate. Also,
funnily enough, though, we were just talking about this person before the show, weren't we, Jordan? Spiderhoof.
Oh!
In the house.
This person is my inspiration.
Spiderhoof in the house. Spides, we were just talking about you before we launched, talking about your location and next year and what's happening for the election, etc., etc. Spiderhoof, thank you for the super chats, very generous. When are you going to start applying to be an MP, Jordan? As always, love your work. That goes for you too, Pat.
When
ever thought about it?
When is Spiderhoof going to apply? Yeah, yes and no. It's a strange thing though, isn't it? Because like I read through all my comments and comment sections, and there's so many people that have the attitude of like, I can't trust an MP. They're all useless, yada yada yada. But then the same people will be like, you should be an MP. And I'm like, what do you want? Like, what happens then if I become an MP? Do I just automatically become useless? I don't know. Yeah, maybe one day. But I think at the moment my skills are. I think I almost lose. I think a person almost loses a little bit of credibility sometimes as soon as they become an MP. And I think there's an opportunity for me with my skills to be able to affect more people and engage with more people out here in the community, not as an MP. And I think it's the people in the community that need to be engaged with. And right now our MPs are not reaching them. And so I'd rather do that for now, reach the community and maybe push them towards, the MPs.
I think it was Pam Corkery, who went from a media personality, talkback host, etc., etc. I think she might have joined the ACT Party and become an MP, and she got out of it very quickly. I could be wrong with that party, but she got out of it very quickly. And I've heard her talking. She used to do a show with a mate of mine, Tim, and basically I've heard her say to some level, I thought I'd be able to do more as a politician. I do wonder about people who want to be politicians to make a change. I'm down for that. Like if that's who you are and that's what you can do, go for it. You know, totally be down for it. But I do think for some people, they are more effective outside the tent throwing stones in than they would be inside the tent. Because I think there are rules and regulations inside that tent, and sometimes you have to then adhere to those rules that might hinder your effectiveness. Now, I'm not saying that of any individual. I think some people, I think Chloe Swarbrick is a perfect person to be an MP. Yep. She's exactly who we need as an MP. There may be some other people who are outside of the MP world who that's the place they should be best effective as well. So, you know, I think there's not one size fits all.
It is a hard one though, because I'm very aware that like I probably have to take my own advice sometimes more than I already do. And I know that I'm exactly the type of person, if I wasn't me and had I met me, I'd probably encourage me to get into politics in that way. But I personally at the moment still feel like I have more to do in the community. But yeah, you're right. There are people out there that seek that power, and those are the worst people to have it. Meanwhile, there are people out here that are worried of having the power, and those are the people that are probably most likely should.
I mean, it's that old adage, isn't it? The best qualification for being a politician is not wanting to be a politician. It's probably the number one thing. Big tangent, but I think it was in ancient Greece. Ancient Greece, they used to get 500 people a year, like jury duty, and they would be the government, and they had to do it, and so there was like a lottery system, and they got them together, and that's how they ran decisions that needed to be made all the time. I'm pretty sure it was ancient Greece. Yeah,
a government built on a lottery system. This sounds wild, but I recently heard a hot take about it that made me think actually, maybe that wouldn't be a terrible idea. I don't think we'd ever be able to implement such a thing, but I think statistically speaking, you'd have a better representation of the community, possibly. I'm not a mathematician here, guys. Let's not quote me on those maths, but I do.
Want to say thanks to Citizen, Karen Rubin, Sandy, Brian, Jonathan, David, Natalie, who have already jumped on that that opportunity to support medical aid for Palestinians. So well done, team. And it shows that if we're only going to do 30, I'll be honest, maybe we'll do more, but that's sort of the first run. Then there's like a third of them gone. So if you want them, just saying, just putting it out there,
It's extra poignant. I was going to say.
No. You go. You're the guest.
I was going to say it's extra poignant as well because there are several Palestinians that I'm in contact with regularly whenever they have reception, whenever they can get to, and I constantly getting updates from them. I gotta be honest, it's quite stressful. You try not to think about it too much because I'm just very aware that at any moment it might be the last message I get from them. Yeah, so every little bit when it comes to fundraising for Palestine really does matter. Because I mean, my friend Saja, that's baby formula for her baby, or rice for their family. These are real people.
And there's a bit of a groundswell at the moment. There's a bit of a revital. I mean, it hasn't gone away over the past 2 years, but there seems to be a bit of a, you saw it sort of, didn't start necessarily, but you saw it in Sydney a few weeks ago, and then you've seen it in Auckland 2 weekends ago, and there feels like there's like, come on, get on with it, guys. This is, I mean, it went on long enough after a month, let alone 23 months, but it feels like there's something in the water now, which is making it even more urgent and even more support out there. So it'll be interesting to see. We're going to talk, we won't necessarily talk about it now because we're going to talk about when we play some Luxon video. But this whole thing, are we going to recognize Gaza? We're going to. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So say it. So if you're just playing coy, it's like, maybe we'll get married one time, honey. Or I'm sure we will get married at some stage. What should we do it now? Well, maybe some stage in the future. So just fucking get on with it.
It is one of those things where you're like, how has this not already happened? You know, like I think it was earlier this year I saw the protest outside Parliament for people talking about making stalking illegal. And the first thing I said was, is that not already illegal? Like, surely that should be a thing already. It's the same with this. Like, how is that not a thing? Yeah. These are people.
Yeah. Bit of a tangent to somewhere else, and we're not going to really. I actually was surprised it was such high profile on the news tonight. There was the lead story on TVNZ was the Charlie Kirk situation. It's weird that his sort of funeral or whatever service was the biggest story on TVNZ tonight. But there was one story that I think that was hugest out of it that no one really talked about. And that's that President Trump, and I put it on Blue Sky today, has gone from, this is the quote from him when his acceptance speech, I will be the president for all Americans, to today, I hate my opponent and I don't want what's best for them. That quote seems to be just, it's just what Donald Trump says. I'm not playing the whole story. We're not doing a whole thing on him tonight. But I thought it's important for us to hear the so-called leader of the free world talking about hating his political opponents.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. It was an assault on our most sacred liberties and God-given rights. The gun was pointed at him, but the bullet was aimed at all of us.
Anyway, that's all we need.
That wasn't written by him.
The little side comments, possibly. Oh yeah, the whole thing, yeah. But it's still in the news. Obviously, we've talked about this extensively over the last week and a bit. Do you got any thoughts around it you want to share? It's been sort of in that world of internet, which you inhabit with your stuff. It's been something.
I've really stayed away from it because it just feels like more distraction. Just so much. Like I believe there was a school shooting that happened in the same day.
The 100th school shooting of the year.
Right. So. Yeah. What? Like, I'm not. Let's talk about that. Like, that's a genuine problem, recurring thing. I don't know. I just think I did a very small piece on it on TikTok, just talking about how there's really no winners in the conversation of Charlie Kirk. There's just no winners, really. I mean, it'll be weaponized against us no matter what people say, and whoever wants to use it to their advantage will. But there's just so much other stuff happening, so many other people that deserve our attention. The attention that he's getting, could be better served somewhere else, actually constructive. That's my innings.
Yep. Someone said to me, I put that post up that I just read on both Twitter and Blue Sky. And someone said to me something like, oh, you mean the Charlie Kirk Trump rally? I was like, yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Where is it? Here it is. What did they say? They said, do you mean the Charlie Kirk Trump rally? Instead of the Charlie Kirk service, it's the Charlie Kirk Trump rally, which I thought was pretty apt, to which I said, yes, fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we've been talking a bit about Luxon, about what's going on with Luxon today and what we're going to talk about. So let's have Squiz. I've got a couple of clips from him. The first one is not necessarily one we're going to focus on, but because I grabbed it, I thought it's quite important because emergency room doctors are reporting that people are dying in corridors and in like the car park of hospitals. I don't know if you can measure society by how we treat the least. Probably you could say the same about how we treat the sickest. Yeah. And people dying in corridors doesn't sound like a particularly good result for anyone. Let's have a listen to how the Prime Minister responded to that question today.
One News reported that ED doctors are saying patients are dying in corridors and in car parks, waiting for care. This requires urgent action. So what is the government doing?
Well, the government's put in $17 billion in the first year. We've put another 7% increase, 6% per person in New Zealand into healthcare this year. So there's plenty of money going in.
Just remember, whānau, don't necessarily believe the hype, right? Because yes, they've put in more than any other government. That's because population grows and you have to put in more. It's not like a look at us being amazing, we've put in more. Like in 1982, they put in the most there's ever been in 1983. And in 1996, they put the most there's ever been in 1997. That happens every year. And the thing that I thought about Luxon today, both in this conversation and others that are going to play out, is it doesn't matter how much you put into something if it's still not enough, it's still not enough.
Yeah.
So saying hopity big number doesn't matter if that big number is still not enough to solve the problem. And that seems to be happening when we're talking about nurses' pay rates, teachers' pay rates, the medical system, blah, big number, still not enough. Do you want to jump in before we keep going, Jordan?
I just think this man's a champion at patting himself on the back for doing the bare minimum. That's all.
I mean, he's so double jointed, he could be Cirque du Soleil if he really wanted to be.
Oh, I absolutely don't want to see any more skin than I can already see of him.
2,100 more nurses. We've got 600 more doctors.
2,100 nurses, say it with us, whānau, still not enough.
Yeah.
In the Health New Zealand system than when we started. So there's lots of resources going in. We've put real clarity around targets. If you take emergency department.
It's not about the frickin' targets. You know, we've heard this before. It's not about the frickin' targets.
They dropped from almost 89% down to 67%.
We're talking about emergency departments
Correct.
here.
And that's what and so we're now seeing some improvement in actually people getting through emergency department wait lists. You would have seen just yesterday, I think day before yesterday, there was another $20 million put in immediately into emergency departments, as well as $100 million into
That's
hospital.
not new money, though, is it? That was money that was already allocated.
But it's money that is getting out the door to the places where it's supposed to get to some hotspots.
It's not enough. That's what doctors are doing.
I just say Jenny. $17 billion, $1 in every 5, record spending from any government in the history of New Zealand, $33 billion going into healthcare.
All of that is exactly what we've said. Of course it's the most because there's more people and you need more money. It's not to echo what Dawn said, you don't get to pat yourself on the back for having to do something.
Yeah.
I fed my kids breakfast this morning. It's what you do as a parent, you know, it's what you do. This is what you do as a government. This is nothing special, right? So you need to figure out how to solve this problem or get out of the way. And we'll talk more about that with Nicola Willis perhaps getting out of the way shortly, but we'll do that after this.
A huge amount of money. So it's not a financial problem.
How much?
It's actually a bureaucracy problem and making sure that money gets through Health New Zealand, gets out to the patient ultimately, and we improve the wait list times that we're seeing.
How much does it worry you, though, that when we have ED doctors telling us that people are dying in emergency departments waiting for care?
It worries me tremendously, and that's why this government's put in place clear targets to focus the healthcare system, because it's not good enough to have 89% of people only getting EDs.
So can we say it again? It would appear that the targets are not enough, still not working. You're putting a target in place. Well done. Congratulations, CEO talk. You can tick the box with we've said the right things at Luxon's Business School of New Zealand. But if the targets aren't being hit or the targets aren't enough, it's not enough. And you need to get better targets.
Also, how can anyone trust what he says in terms of the making sure the money gets to the patient? Isn't his government the government that made up that fake list of all the people that something has to for a patient to get care? And they listed chief of staff, CEO, team member. The 6 layers, right?
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you speak to any professional, we have Gary Payinda on fairly regularly, along with his own podcast each week. It's like the back room's been emptied, dude. You've done it. One of the reasons that this is taking longer for people to get through is there's no one to file those files away. You're making people actually who should just be focusing on patients focus on other things because you've emptied the back room. So if you're now still talking about money to the patients, who's going to go next? Who's going to stop? Who's the stoppage at the moment that you haven't already cleared out? Like, it's not enough. You're not doing enough. So fix it or get out of the way. How long, citizen? 454 days, something like that. Get out of the way, something like that.
Yeah.
Department support in a 6-hour window, dropping down to 67%. It dropped over 20 points in the space of the last government. We've now got focus on that. We're saying to everyone working in health, make sure you get ED wait times down, make sure you get specialist appointments down, first elective surgeries, cancer treatments, and immunisation rates for under 2. 5 very clear goals that we know if we can do those things and lift our performance, we'll get better health outcomes for Kiwis.
It was actually 14 layers, apologies.
14 layers.
Yeah, and as we just said, one of the layers was patient. So one of the layers of bureaucracy they needed to get rid of was the patient.
Yeah, amazing.
There's plenty more stuff I want to talk about, but but this is all we're doing with the doctor stuff now. This is it. So if you want to comment on that, this is the time.
No, that's it. I mean, it's just been a layer cake of shit, hasn't it? I mean, it's because like we started with this government, and the first thing they did was the hiring freeze in medical institutions, right? Doctors and nurses. So we've started there. It was a bad start, wasn't it?
We're being told by people in the industry that it's not technically a freeze, because if they need 50 people in the hospital, they're allowed to hire one. So the government can say, no, there's no freeze. It's like, but if we need 30 people and we can hire 2, that's actually not a solution to the problem of understaffing. Like if we need 30, we want to hire 30. That would then not be a freeze. So, yeah. All right, listen, we're going to come back to the breakfast show at some stage, but first of all, we're going to jump across to Big Herald News and have a listen to what they had to say. Now, I forget this gentleman's name. Someone will remind me in the chat very quickly because they're all smarter than me.
He's the guy without a beard.
He came across as a bit of a comrade today. He actually pushed Luxon on some of these things around GDP because the GDP numbers out last week were an abomination. 3 times as high as they were expecting. Calls for 0.9%? Yeah, 0.9, and they were expecting 0.3. Some places were expecting 0.4. So it was, and funny, when I was talking to Craig Rennie about this when we were recording his podcast, he actually said to me, we didn't record it, he was like, this is resignation kind of bad. And what have we been hearing about that since? We've been hearing about should Nicola Willis resign. This is quite a good segment and quite a good amount of pushback because Luxon has no introspection. You might be surprised to hear, Whānau. At no point does he go, like he gets asked a question in a second, how much of this lies at your feet? Won't do it, can't do it. And this is where the CEO comes out, the CEO of the product that's just had a recall. No, we stand by our product. It's just had a recall. Yep, but it'll be back out. We stand by it. It's still the best product. This is what you're hearing. You're hearing salesman pitch CEO talk when what they're selling is a pile of shit that's been recalled. That's their product, yet he's standing by it. Let's have a look, eh?
Do you accept some responsibility for the state of the economy right now?
Well, my job is to fix the economy. That's why I was elected.
No answer.
That is job number 1, is to get the economy growing again. We had good growth in the 6 months before Q2. On the second day of that second quarter, we had the Trump tariffs announced. That causes huge amounts of uncertainty, and as a result, that means that investors and people actually stop spending and they stop investing. And you've seen that with a loss of what's called confidence and sentiment in that second quarter.
Is it fair though to just blame everything on the tariffs?
Well, we're not, because we're doing everything we can.
Well, you are. Nicola Willis's stand-up last week, the word tariffs was said 13 times. You absolutely are blaming everything on the word tariff. But again, reporter, good pushback. He broached it a different way, but asked the same question. Well done.
We've delivered good spending control, which has led to lower inflation, lower interest rates, and we've given tax relief to New Zealanders. We've got our primary industries having record years, which is fantastic for our exporters. Great if you're in the South Island, Bay of Plenty, rural communities.
Have there been any
We've got some challenges.
Have there been any missteps, do you
Third
think,
time.
in your
Third
leadership
time.
or by your
Well, I think we've got the right economic plan. I mean, we've inherited a situation with...
Sorry, hang on. Sorry. Now, I apologise, Whānau. I'm sure some of you have seen it. You may even have sent it out, Jordan. There was a graph going around as to everyone's GDP, and it was all on the positive side, and then down at the bottom was New Zealand on the negative side. So if we've got the right plan, right? If it's the right plan, if we've got it, if we're going with the right plan, why are the results so bad? That's like going, my diet's going really well. You've put on 20 kilos. Yeah, my diet's going really, but you've put on 20 kilos. No, I stand by my diet. My diet's going really well. I don't think the reality of the world and what you're saying, those things don't equate. They're different.
They never have for Luxon. The reality of the world, he just doesn't even acknowledge it.
We'll play this. This has got about 40 seconds to go.
By your
Well, I think we've got the right economic plan. I mean, we've inherited a situation with the biggest recession for 35 years, the longest COVID hangover of any of the Western economies, and we're dealing with a difficult global trading environment. Having said all of
that no other country is dealing with, by the way.
Yeah,
like we're dealing with it. It's because of tariffs. Australia, better. Canada. We're going to play a bit about Canada in a second. Better.
China, Japan, United Kingdom, United States.
And if our top trading partner is China, that's our biggest market. Why does tariffs from America tip us over so much? Yes, that's going to make some things that we trade more difficult, but they're not our biggest trading partner. Yeah. So surely we should be somewhat isolated. Like if the US was your biggest trading partner, hi Canada, maybe you'd have a leg to stand on, but they're not. They might be big, but they're not the biggest, which means we should have an offset. We shouldn't be hit. We should not be hit by Trump's tariffs as hard as, say, for example, Canada, where America is the number one trading partner. But guess what? We're getting hit worse. This equation's not quite adding up.
Well, past Nicola and past Luxon would agree, because they both said prior that they don't think that the tariffs would affect us very much. They were both very positive about it at the beginning.
Well, but and also remember, past Nicola Willis and past Christopher Luxon would not allow the Labor government to have international pressures impact their economy. Everything around COVID. No, sorry. You don't get to use international pressures. Sorry, Prime Minister Hipkins. But apparently now international pressures is just a hand wave just to get rid of everything. Just goodbye.
We're now growing again this quarter. We're projected to strengthen before Christmas again. We have a huge number of New Zealanders about to refinance their mortgages within the next 6 months. That will give them a lot more injection of cash into their back pockets. So I think we're doing all the right things, and we're still looking for things like major events funds where we can accelerate it, accelerating infrastructure projects to get construction and building moving again. So we're doing everything we can, pulling all the levers to make sure that we are maximising growth and creating the conditions for growth to take forward.
So, but then, look, logic would dictate if you are doing everything you can, then you are the wrong person for this job. Because what you're saying, if what you're saying is there is literally nothing else we can do and your results are so bad, then it's time to go away. Like if you said there's some other levers we can pull, he wouldn't say that, because first of all, that would be like, why haven't you pulled them already? But if he was being honest and saying there's a couple of others levers we can pull, you'd go, okay, well, pull those and then we'll see what's happening. But you've said we've done everything we can and we're getting these terrible results. You are not the man for this job anymore. Jordan?
No, you're right. Since the beginning, this man has been saying he's been doing the best he can. And so I think if this is the best he can, well, it's not bloody good enough. Yeah. I think he's explaining himself out of the job. Your best sucks. Get out.
Yeah. We talked a bit about Canada, and back to breakfast, Jenny May actually asked him about Canada. The exact point being, tariffs should impact Canada far more than us, shouldn't they? And we'll have a listen to what he said about that.
Canada's economy, which is even more exposed to the US, they shrank 0.4% in the last quarter, while ours shrank 0.9%, right? Doesn't that suggest that something local was happening here, as opposed to just blaming it on US tariffs?
What's happening is actually our bilateral exports are actually to the US are actually been growing, I think, about 6%, 7% this year, which is really quite good. So the issue is that as a small country, we are more impacted than, say, a medium or a large sized country. We always have been, always will be. We're basically a little boat out there in a bigger ocean sailing away, and we get smacked around by some of the turbulence that's out there. So that's not unexpected, and as a result for New Zealand, when so much of our economy is tied up in trade, when you get globally, people actually just saying, look, this is very what is going on with these tariffs? What does all this mean? And remember how that felt back in April when it was first announced, how much uncertainty there was. People just need some time to digest that. We now have clarity about what all that means, and we're learning to deal with that. The good news is that New Zealand's exports to the US, our exporters who are largely red meat, wine, and a little bit of dairy, are actually doing really well.
So what was the question? Jesus Christ, he just keeps talking.
The thing about that is imagine being the Prime Minister and trying to sell our exports doing so well and only being able to list 2 items and then sort of a third one, red meat, wine, and a little bit of dairy. That's it. That's what you're standing out your economic success on. He also said we're a littler boat in this big ocean. Now that's true, but the thing about being a littler boat, right, put that back in dollar terms, a littler business, is actually it should be easier to get to profitability, because when you're bigger, the economies of scale sometimes make life harder to reach profit. So actually, there's actually no downside about being a littler boat, because it also means your expenses are littler. It means your outgoings are littler. It's proportional. You know what I mean? And I know economies of scale might make an individual product cheaper, but being little and small and maneuverable and flexible actually could give a lot of benefit if someone knew what they were doing, Jordan.
Also, we're not newly a littler boat. We were a littler boat under Chris Hipkins. We were a littler boat under Jacinda Ardern. We're a littler boat. We've always been there. Why is it so hard now, apparently?
And I mean, this is constantly what we're saying, like, you know, going back to the last government, they wouldn't allow them to, when they talk about inflation and what they did to inflation, and you look at the inflation all around the world and it was identical, and you're like, oh, so how did Jacinda ruin the inflation in Canada out of interest? Like, what did she do that was, you know, but no, you have to take responsibility for it no matter what happens. Like when the price of petrol started to go through the roof, we actually said, look, I agree with you guys that there are international pressures. We agree with that. But what we do in this show is we're going to hold you accountable to the same standard you held the last lot to, or to the standard you set for yourself. And you would not allow the last lot to go international pressure as part of the reason. So we're not going to, because you wouldn't, and that would be hypocritical. The last part about this conversation, though, is this absolute perler. I think this all came out on Friday, so we missed it in our regular kind of Monday to Thursday show. I don't think the kids picked up on it. Former Finance Minister Sir Roger Douglas calls for Finance Minister Nicola Willis to resign. I'll read you a bit of this from Stuff. Is it Stuff? Oh, no, it's RNZ, sorry, from RNZ. Former Finance Minister Roger Douglas is calling for Finance Minister Nicola Willis to resign, but she says their solution is not needed. He and University of Auckland Matthew Abel Chair of Macroeconomics Robert McCulloch said the contraction in GDP revealed by Stats NZ on Thursday was because Willis was sending New Zealand bankrupt by failing to get to grips with our ballooning fiscal deficits and public debt. Her own treasury contradicts her claim that New Zealand is on the path to surplus. It's not. Treasury's long-term fiscal forecasts show out-of-control deficits due to pensions and healthcare spending from an ageing population, they said in a statement. Willis is not up to the job and is not levelling with the New Zealand public. Now, we see this and we hear this and we think that doesn't sound very good. And then you put on top of it $23 billion taken out of our combined bank account with landlord reimbursements, with tax cuts, and with $1 billion to big tobacco, for God's sake.
Tobacco companies.
What that $23 billion could do to how, like if that was just put into the bank for retirement, then we wouldn't have this massive deficit that Roger Douglas is talking about. And just before I throw it across to you, Jordan, I think it's quite important also to portray once again the CEO Prime Minister. Remember, he sold his CEO-ness as a positive, but also if you're the CEO of a company and that company is failing, you can't acknowledge it's failing. If you're the CEO of a company and what you've marketed has been proven to be a lead-based product and it has to be recalled, you still have to stay positive about it. I challenge you to watch Christopher Luxon from Friday night talking about Nicola Willis in any other way than a CEO talking about damaged goods and trying to big it up. So this is when he was asked about it on Friday.
Nicola Willis is the best finance minister New Zealand is ever going to have. She's an outstanding person. She's an outstanding finance minister, economic growth minister. She's doing an exceptionally good job in a very tough situation, and I totally back her.
Christopher Luxon.
So, I mean, like, you know, what is the saying from Shakespeare? Methinks the lady doth protesteth too much. A little bit, maybe a bit OTT. Maybe some of your ninth floor PR spin needs to go, you know, sometimes less is more, sir. Sometimes less is more. You don't have to go over the top because that looks disingenuous. Thoughts, Jordan?
Luxon in the past few weeks has started talking about Nicola Willis the same way he used to talk about soap. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that clip of him selling man soap for men, because apparently, according to Christopher Luxon, men have bigger hands, so we can't hold little soap. We have to have big soap. And it's a sell he was giving, and that's why Unilever loved him so much, because he will commit 100% to a sell, even if it's a crap car or something as stupid as man soap. But that's how he's talking about Nicola at the moment. Like, he's kind of completely detached. He doesn't know what else to say other than just giving pure praise for it. But yeah, he's lost it, man.
It does kind of feel a bit like, you know, the CEO who was handpicked, the two I see. And because they've handpicked the two. I see, remember prior to the last election when they were talking about negotiations, the only position that was absolutely non-negotiable is Nicola Willis for finance minister. Yeah. So he's handpicked her. So her failure is his failure, right? Because he made it very clear that he wasn't going to get into any negotiations over that. There wasn't going to be anything other than Nicola Willis. So she is his protege, for want of a better word. She is his hand-selected choice for who is going to turn this economy around, and she is failing, which means he is failing. If you open the door, Mr. Luxon, whatever breaks, you own. The system's broken, Nicola Willis is broken, the economy is broken, you own it. But he's a CEO, you know, you don't admit defeat, you don't say you're wrong, you don't apologize, you just keep going.
I hope we learn from this. And I hope the advancements of social media lets us record how ridiculous this whole ordeal of the Luxon government has been. I hope people remember going forward how stupid it was to put in place a CEO, millionaire landlord, as a prime minister. Because I remember at the beginning of the election, people talked about having a CEO, he's so good at running a company, yada, yada, yada. Now, one never stops to think about what makes a good CEO. The metrics that we use of good CEOs, the best CEOs in the world, we don't measure them in order of how well they treated their staff. We don't measure them in order of how prosperous they allowed their communities to be. We measure them in order of how much money they made the company and their donors, people, stakeholders within that. And now we have a CEO prime minister who's just doing the exact thing. New Zealanders, all of us, we're just workers in a company that, unlike in New Zealand, he can't just fire a bunch straight at the beginning to save money. We all stay here. And unfortunately, we just end up on the streets. But that is, I hope we learn about that going forward. Also, has there ever been a government that has had so many previous MPs and prime ministers come out against it? Because we've had Jenny Shipley with the regulatory standards bill. We've had Helen Clark speak on a number of things. Sir Geoffrey Palmer is now writing a book, suddenly inspired, called Saving New Zealand's Democracy. Is that the name of the book?
Something like that.
No. And now we had the mother of all budgets come forward. Now Roger of all people. It's abysmal, and it's embarrassing.
What you've said is really important to remember. We talked about that lots before the election. You do not run a country like you run a business. No. Legally, by law, if you're running a business, you must make it as profitable as possible if you have shareholders. You're not allowed to make decisions to lose money. It's against the law. It's a pecuniary interest situation set up there. So, well, I should say it this way. You're not allowed to without consultation of the shareholders. Like if there was a reason you take a hit for 1 year. So you're not allowed to tank the stock, you know? And this is the example I said from day one. If you're running a country like a business, you'd be focusing on profit. Guess what? Libraries, it's not very profitable. You know, lots of services aren't very profitable. So he would say probably, of course, we're not going to get rid of libraries. And I said, well, then you're not running the country like a business. So let's put that away now. You can't have it both ways. You can't go, well, I'd be good at making deals, which you're not. But remember, David Seymour admitted that the actual Treaty Principles Bill wasn't a bottom line, yet you folded to it immediately. So you're not a good negotiator. And way back when this started off, one of our quote lines, Jordan, was not a businessman, just a board member. He's touting his business nous, whereas I think about someone with business nous that would be sort of usable in a public setting as someone who started their own business, who grew it, who employed people, who then franchised it, who made it bigger. He didn't do any of that. He was in sales and marketing, and then he went to the boardroom. I don't consider that to be a businessman. I consider that to be a board member. And so I don't know why we, being the country, were fooled, and I don't know why he thinks it's a good line, you know, to be the CEO Prime Minister, because it's not, because this is not, we're not a company. We're not a company.
No. And he's just so out of touch as well, you know, CEO millionaire. What's this thing? Oh, I have it. He posted 7 things to smile about. Do you see this? It is the most out of touch thing. So keep in mind, people can't afford groceries. People are living on the streets. People are living in cars. He put 7 things to smile about. Number 1, 132 years since New Zealand became the first nation to give women the vote. Right, but then you cancelled pay equity claims. As I said, the maximum family boost increased from 3,900 to 600 6,240. Can't point to a single family that got the whole thing. Our card surcharge ban has passed its first reading, right? But then that just drives up the prices of actual food. It just has no. And then this whole thing is going on about rural confidence. Like, brilliant. People can't afford butter. People can't afford bread. People living on the streets. But hey, thank God there are some farmers that are feeling good about themselves. It's just such a non-thing. But this man is so out of touch that he's toting these things around. Oh, you've got it.
George Beamish and Hamish Kerr won gold at the World Athletics Champ. See, he's even trying to get reflected glory from other stuff.
It's got nothing to do with them. You know? It's insane. That thing we launched a major events fund, which means more awesome concerts and events near you. No, it doesn't. The people in Gore are still getting the same amount of events that they've always gotten.
It's always funny to read the comments, eh? So the first comment, one-term government, big smile about that. and then exactly what you said, 132 years later than women gained a pay equity cut.
God.
They even try to claim daylight savings, probably the only savings National's done the whole time. Honestly, people are very funny online.
It's brilliant.
The only thing I care about there is the daylight savings, yay. Oh, and the countdown to the next elections. One, yes, women will be able to vote you out. Oh my God, this is brutal. I'm just going through one by one. So that's 7 pros. What about the cons? Yeah, man, that goes on. 1 week until daylight savings, you're a week behind. I've always said with Chewy, I'd like to do this bit with Chewy. It would take organising, which is why I haven't done it, which is like the hidden comments section. Whereas maybe, because on YouTube, we've got filters on there which are all automated and they don't let some chats through. But occasionally I go and have a look at them and they're fucking hilarious, man. They're so funny. And they're just people trying to be mean and that kind of stuff. And I thought maybe we should start a feature like every Thursday that we have the unpublished comment section, and just once a week put a whole bunch of them up. They're pretty funny. They're pretty funny.
So. There's some gold out there.
Yeah. No, that's very good. All right. Hey, let's do some super chats because some people have been chatting away to us. Peter says, thoughts on the Murdochs taking over US TikTok? I didn't know about this. Is this the case?
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, I don't know if it's the Murdoch. Well, no, it would be the Murdochs, right? It's a Murdoch from the family. My thoughts are I'm really glad to see you there, Pat, using Blue Sky, because I think it is we really need to start utilizing those other channels for social media now.
I still do use Twitter. But the reason I use Twitter is because Blue Sky is taking a long time to fix up the user interface. I mean, I put a lot of audio and video up, and video up, and Blue Sky doesn't have the capacity to do it yet. And look, we've interviewed the COO of Blue Sky. If you go to my Blue Sky, it's the pinned account. Yeah, it's the pinned account on my Blue Sky account. And I've said very clearly, as soon as Blue Sky has the capacity or the capabilities that Twitter does, with in particular video, I'm happy to go there. But I tell you what, I think something else. Here's something else for you, Jordan. I reckon that one of the reasons, and this is through personal experience of our accounts, that Facebook is blowing up at the moment. And I reckon Facebook is blowing up at the moment because people have gone to, this is just an opinion, I have no evidence for this, but it makes sense to me. People like me and like you and others have gone to Blue Sky. Yeah. And they've gone, new thing. Oh, come on. Oh, it's taking so long. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I've still got that boomer Facebook account. Maybe I'll start using that and Blue Sky. And I wonder if, because Blue Sky is taking a long time to kind of get up to speed, that people have started engaging on Facebook again, because we've seen a massive growth on Facebook with the number of views and stuff. It's really big.
No, so have I.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, I got no evidence for that, but I just kind of thought, why would this be? And that, I mean, I'm just wondering if that's, people have given Blue Sky a crack and they've gone, it's not really doing what I want it to do. I'm not going back to Twitter. No, I've got a Facebook account. No, we'll go back there. I just wondered. That's
no, it could be it. But I would say let's utilize those other channels.
Arvid says, I was elected to lead, not read. Over Red Rover says, if we're a small country, is Norway, is Ireland. Very good point. Is Luxon stooping Willis, or just New Zealand as a whole? I think that's a sexual reference.
I think that's a dirty comment.
I think it's a dirty comment. Gosh.
And gross.
Stupid. I don't think I've ever seen that word written. Private equity government and voters got peaked. What's on your mind so much, Fano? What's going on? What goodness
What's
me?
behind me?
Tiffany says, Lux, don't give no fucks unless it means he gets the bucks.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, all right. Now, we started this conversation tonight with Mehdi Hasan talking about journalists in Gaza. It's a particularly interesting week. We are confused as to why Luxon's like, I might tell you later in the week about Gaza. Don't ask too yet. I've got a secret coming up. But there has been some talk about it. Jack Tame covered it in the weekend, and also, once again, we might go back to breakfast because Luxon was asked about it this morning as well. Winston Peters off to the UN. Will New Zealand recognise Palestine as a state? Is the story on Q&A. It's not an interview by Jack this time around, but it's more of a story. Interesting watching, though. Have a look.
Is this the week New Zealand will officially recognise a Palestinian state?
Yes.
The Foreign Minister, Winston Peters, will attend the UN General Assembly in New York in the next couple of days. His visit comes as UN investigators accuse Israel of committing genocide in Gaza, a charge that Israel denies. One US correspondent, Logan Church, is live for us in New York this morning. Kia ora, Logan. So the UN Commission of Inquiry says Israel has committed genocide in Gaza. How is that finding going to impact events this week?
Well, the crisis in Gaza, Jack, was already in the spotlight. This has just made it even sharper so, with an increasing number of nations condemning Israel's actions, especially in the Gaza Strip. And already there are a number of sessions planned at the UN General Assembly to discuss what to do. Interestingly, though, who will not be there will be the Palestinian Authority president, who has attended in previous years. He'll be addressing the UN General Assembly via a pre-recorded video message, and that's because he is one of about 80 Palestinian officials who have had their visas revoked by the US government, which is highly unusual. However, who will be here is...
That's good, eh? Land of the free, home of the brave. Not that brave, though. Did you hear that they call the secret security on Gavin Newsom today?
No, what?
The secret, is that what they're called? The SS? No, that's not the right one, is it? What am I trying to say? Secret police? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because he said something like, what's her name? The one who kills her puppies was going to have a very bad day. And that apparently was taken as a threat by some lawmakers. And so he had the Secret Service, that's what it is, called on him. To which he then tweeted out Donald Trump saying Bernie Sanders is going to have a really bad day from a wee while ago, and asked if the Secret Service would check out that thread as well. Gavin Newsom, I don't necessarily like his politics. He's a little bit too mainstream for me, but he's on fire a little bit with his attack mode at the moment. They've just in California. Sorry, Jack, we'll come back to you in a sec. In California, they've just made a ruling that police officers, ICE agents, are not allowed to cover their faces and must have identifying information on their uniform, so their names or a number. Now, I'm actually cool with it. I think a number's fine because then you have an access point. You know, like I can understand how, I'm not supporting ICE obviously, but how some police might not want to have their personal details out there. But a number, a way to track them, sort of thing, should something go wrong. So it'll be interesting to see if the ICE raids drop off a little bit in California, or
California's pushback has been pretty wild, right? They did the chasing them down the streets. They've had I've seen tow trucks pick up the ICE cars, the ICE trucks and stuff, and drive off. Yeah. So we'll see. But the icing will either drop off. I think it'll either drop off, or they'll just ignore it and they'll wear protective. Because I mean, you know, if they wanted to be dicks, you know what they could do? They could wear N95s and go, "Oh, we're just being COVID conscious," you know. It's true.
And then they probably couldn't have anything said about them. All right, sorry, Jack. Let's get back to the important conversation.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's expected to land here in New York and attend the UN General Assembly. Now, it's not expected that he will receive a sympathetic audience or speak in front of a sympathetic audience for reasons I mentioned before, but it's also reported that he's been invited to travel to Washington, D.C. afterwards to meet with Donald Trump. Now, Netanyahu's expected appearance at the United Nations has already been met with protests here in New York, and more are expected during the week as well. It's also worth mentioning, of course, we've spoken over recent months how the International Criminal Court has an arrest warrant out for Benjamin Netanyahu, but it's important to note that...
And remember, evangelical Christians in New Zealand Luxon said if Netanyahu came to New Zealand, they would be kind of duty bound to fulfill what the IJCC or the ICC has ruled. Just remember that, evangelical Christians. Just, he's your boy, and he wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Just CEO. Well done.
Under
Real
Donald Trump's
Mamdani as
leadership,
well.
the United States does not recognise the authority of the International Criminal Court at the moment, but it certainly a tense time for these high-level talks to be taking place.
Yeah, so the Foreign Minister flies out today. What are Winston Peters' plans?
Yeah, it's likely he just landed or is about to land.
I bet you most of them are surrounded by whiskey and cigars. So whatever Winston's plans are, there is a smoking jacket and a glass of whiskey involved. That would be, I could just see Winston at one of those clubs you see in the movies that only members are allowed to go to. He would fit very well in one of those clubs with a whiskey in one hand and a cigar in the other. Hey, old Winnie.
And fish heads, he loves those.
Say again?
Fish heads, he loves those.
Yeah, there you go.
York City. At this stage, he's scheduled to speak to the United Nations General Assembly a little bit later on this week. Of course, with these things, as you know, the timetable constantly changes. But it is expected that he might use that opportunity to state New Zealand's position when it comes to the recognising the state of Palestine as an actual state. Why do we think that? Well, we know that the New Zealand Cabinet has been discussing it, and other nations, including Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, and France are expected to also use the opportunity of this year's general.
I mean, if you haven't heard, that was done today. Those three countries said yes today. It is a bit of a shame that we come from this history of kind of being at the pointy end of these world issues, whether it's the nukes or whether it's women in the vote, or and this one we're lagging behind. There is a conversation, I will ask you about this next, Jordan, to wrap up. There is a conversation about, I think it's fair to say of other political parties who have been running this country, they also haven't done it. So whilst we can say now is the time, I think it's also credible and fair to go, yeah, but wasn't 3 years ago also the time? I mean, like just saying.
Assembly at the UN to make that statement themselves, all to advance the long-term goal of a two-state solution to the crisis in the Middle East there. However, considering the ongoing humanitarian situation on the ground, it is a goal that certainly seems a long way away. And it's also worth noting that America and Israel has been opposing efforts to even discuss this at this year's United Nations National Assembly. Of course, Gaza is only one of an increasing laundry list of issues the world seems to be facing. The Foreign Minister is expected to meet also with representatives from Ukraine. We know, of course, that New Zealand, not just diplomatically, but militarily, also has been supporting Ukraine during its defence against Russia's invasion. And remember, climate change, well, that's still happening, and Pacific Islands are still dealing with the fact that their countries are slowly, or in some cases not so slowly, falling into the ocean. So we're also expecting meetings to take place with Pacific leaders attending the United Nations this week as well. As you know, Jack, having covered these events before, often they come, there's a bit of a palaver, and then they go. However, especially after some of the conversations I've been having behind the scenes with UN officials, it certainly seems that this year the stakes are higher really than ever before.
Yeah. Hey, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. That is One News.
We do. We appreciate your time.
Cheers.
Cheers for that. Yeah, so I think it's going to be really interesting actually, because there'll be many supporters of, in particular, National. I think you have more of an evangelical Christian base following National than the other two. But when they recognise Gaza, I think that's probably going to happen this week. I mean, how could you not if Australia, the UK, and I've lost the third one already, Canada did it today?
Yes, Canada.
You would look like a limp-wristed, weak, piss in the air, just a terrible, terrible look if you didn't. So let's be positive and say it's probably going to happen this year. That's going to piss off a bunch of voters on that side. My question is, and I'd still like to understand this, does this need to be cabinet approved? Because if it needs to be cabinet approved, that means that Peters and Seymour have to say yes as well. So interesting to know what the situation is there. But yeah, a couple of things, Jordan. Love to get your thoughts on that. But also, there was a bombardment in 2011, 2012, 2013. There was another time it was in the headlines. We could have done it then. Other countries have done it for a very long time. It's beyond time, and Labor has some responsibility for that as well. I think Chippy said they were taking it to the last election. I don't remember them talking much about it, but I think he said that they were going to use it. They were going to recognise them this term, but is that too little? I mean, nothing's too little, too late. We want them to do it, but this is not all at the feet of National, is what I'm saying.
No, but I mean, we're here now, and National's in government. I think probably could have happened before. But I think I feel like it was a bit of a tangent. But I think as New Zealand, you mentioned before how we kind of see ourselves as being at the pinnacle of these kinds of movements, and it kind of feels embarrassing that we're not at the forefront of this. And I think we often look back at the 1981 Springbok tour, and I think New Zealand as a whole really identify with that, and we really go, look at us, that was New Zealand. But it was New Zealand, but it wasn't our government. That was a national government at the time that brought that in, remember? It was a Labour government that said in the 70s, no, we're not going to do the Springbok tour as an apartheid state. And then the National Party, after that, used that against them and said, oh, look, we should have just done it. We're going to keep politics out of sports. And they brought them in. And then 1981, we had the protests that Nelson Mandela acknowledged. And we as a collective all identify not with the government of the time, we identify with the protesters of the time. We all see ourselves as that New Zealand. We're the people in helmets throwing, bags of flour onto the field. That's what we identify ourselves with. And so I think I'm just interested to see how it's embarrassing now that our government is this shitty on this. But I think in the future, we'll look back at the people crossing the Auckland Harbour Bridge and we'll see that as New Zealand. Not
the difference. One of the big differences, though, is the Springbok tour, New Zealand's protesters could affect a change to the issue. They could stop the games. They could get the headlines back in South Africa for stopping the games. Now the guys going across the bridge, which is amazing. Obviously, we are fully in support of it all. What they're doing is they're making a statement that needs to reach the other side of the world. You know what I mean? So it feels like I hear what you're saying, and I agree that we follow the people, because so what we need in this instance is we do need that pressure that the marchers are putting on to then be picked up by the government to then make the decision. Whereas for the Springbok tour, there was really nothing our government could do. They couldn't change the law in South Africa, but they could stop a rugby team playing. This feels like it's slightly they can change the government can quote change a law. They can choose to therefore acknowledge this group. So I think what you're saying is both right and not quite a parallel, because there for us to evoke the change in this, we need government inclusion. We need government to be involved. For us to evoke a change of the Springbok tour, we needed to stop the Springbok tour. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does make me
you could also argue though that stopping a rugby game didn't change apartheid. So you could go both ways. I'm seeing it.
I'm interested to see how Winston wants to play that, because it's really Winston's games, right? It'll be him that announces the decision, wouldn't it?
Well, he's gonna he'll. I mean, it does feel a bit like, I'm sorry to sound flippant, but kind of Gaza Idol. Who's gonna is Winston Peters going to announce it, and the winner is right after this break? It does feel a bit like that, That sounds terrible.
No, that's it. This whole thing of like, it's not if, but it's when, and it's just like, well, if it's when, if it's not if, then do it. Yeah. But it is, Winston is looking for a power play, I think. We're coming into election year next year. I think he probably wants to distance himself from the other three and make a big, large statement. Yeah. But it's just about what voter base do they want to piss off and what voter base do they want to appease.
Yeah. And look, the last little clip for the videos today, back to breakfast we go, because it's only 60 seconds. But Jenny May did ask Luxon about the recognising of Gaza. So you know what you're going to hear. No, it's not a matter of if, but when. But give them the chance to explain it.
News this morning: UK, Australia, and Canada formally recognised a Palestinian state. Why is it taking us so long?
Well, it's not a race. Some of our friends have recognised Palestine, others haven't. We've always said it's a question of when, not if.
Beatrice is saying the ones who haven't. Like USA and Israel, are those the friends we're talking about? Which friends are we talking about out of interest? Which ones?
We've had preliminary discussions. We're going to keep monitoring the Middle East situation. We'll make a final cabinet decision towards the end of this week, and then Winston Peters will share.
Okay, well, he said a final cabinet decision.
Yeah.
So therefore, but I guess they could they could abstain. This is not going to a vote in the House, so I guess they can make a decision without all of cabinet agree. I'm just interested to see whether Winston and Seymour have to give it the thumbs up as well, because if they do, then they also own it for the voting base who aren't going to be happy with this on that side of politics.
Seymour will say no 100% of the time.
Yeah, I think so too. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually pans out. And I'd like to, maybe that's why this is taking them a month, because it's just like how long he has to coddle Seymour's balls for before he'll finally actually say, okay, then fine. Yeah, we'll see.
Point in our position at that time. But again, the bigger issue, irrespective of state recognition, is the core challenge is that Hamas has to release hostages. Israel needs to be respectful of civilians and get assistance in there and actually pull back from military action. That's how you get peace. And so, as a government, we're not pro-Palestine or pro-Israel. We're just pro-peace. And so we'll work our way through a state recognition question. There's lots of pros and cons of how you might go about doing that and when you might do that. But equally, our major event has to be continuing to make sure there's a ceasefire in that place and that peace breaks out.
The thing about that statement, because I kind of would identify with that being pro-peace. We talk about the innocent lives that are being lost, but if you're pro-peace, but you're in a position to either uplift the ones that are being smashed to bits, in other words, undermine the perpetrators in this, but you choose not to, you're really pro-peace. Because I would say the pro-peace position would be to sit alongside the people who are most vulnerable in this and the ones who are getting killed in their tens of thousands. And that would seem to be a pretty clear case if you were pro-peace. Because if it is a fight going on, it's like 99% from one way and 1% from the other. So if you're pro-peace, surely you should be sitting with the 1% retaliatory fire or whatever than the 99%. That would make sense.
It would make sense and it would be logical. But remember, we're talking about Christopher Luxon. So not really a thing, Tim, is it?
And he's not very good at this.
No.
A couple of chats that have come in, then we can wrap up. I seek your forgiveness for I am late, says JC. Overred Rover says, stopping the whole 9 yards reference. I know what stopping means. Maybe that's how you pronounce it. That makes more sense.
Where are these guys' heads right now?
Arvid's, you've kind of talked about this, haven't we? You're also disappointed in Hipkins for not saying, very pro-Labour. You think they should be doing more? Yeah, I think we've covered that. I think we both acknowledge that Labour's also missed out. Like, put it this way, if the Greens were the biggest party last time around, Gaza would have been recognised yonks ago. Look, I also want to say this. Even the recognising of Gaza, that doesn't close off the question is what do we do about Hamas? Because at the moment, Hamas are a authoritarian group who haven't had elections for approaching 20 years. I think it was 2007. And that's not okay. So the thing is, you can understand, okay, we're going into debate, bro, period. You can understand this thing of we can't recognise them until we get rid of Hamas. But then what if you never get rid of Hamas? Then this group still is kind of floating in no man's land and doesn't work. So I think recognise them, but you recognise them whilst you're also acknowledging we have another problem to sort out here, which is the Hamas issue. But that doesn't mean we don't recognise them to bring them into some kind of more protection amongst other countries, because that's one of the things that will happen. Full UN membership, that kind of thing as well, which might help.
Than that, I mean, because I just think recognizing a group of people that do exist and have pretty much always existed is such like I feel like we're baby steps walking our governments of the world through this very, which should have been done already. Because it's like, recognize a group of people, brilliant. But also, what's the point in recognizing a group of people but not recognizing that group of people are in an apartheid state? So we just stop there at recognizing them, but then leave them in an apartheid regime? Like, that doesn't solve anything.
Yep. And look, this is all fair. Scruffador says there's many states that don't have proper democratic process. Yep, all fair. In control, says Hamas said that they'd leave Palestine. I mean, there's other options that have been on the table with Hamas as well. They offered to give all the hostages back on day 2. People know that story, I'm sure. They just wanted their hostages back from all the people who have been detained illegally in Israeli prison. So yeah, just make it clear, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it because of Hamas. I'm saying that there is something still to sort out once we recognize them, which is the Hamas question, I think. Gold says, don't want to be doxxed, make laws around doxing. Wooming says, remember in 81, not all Kiwis were anti-tour. Could you say the same of now though? Not all Kiwis are pro-Palestine, or not all Kiwis are anti-Israel? I don't know.
It's funny though. It's one of those things where it's like people who were around in 1981, anyone who was pro the tour, just suddenly wasn't. You know, like I've never met anybody who was pro the tour, and that statistically doesn't make sense. Somebody must have been.
There is. It's like the book 1984. Apparently, 1984 is the most lied about book that's been read. If you ask a group of people who has read 1984, most people will say, oh, yeah. We're like a very small percentage of people. And there's something about that book, I don't know, I'm not going conspiracy theory, but people will admit to reading it when they haven't, more so than any other book. So it's that kind of thing. Yeah, I've read it. No, I was anti. Yeah, I was about I was about South Africa on that. I was anti. I was supporting, crumbs. Someone wants to leave. It's my computer, I think. Yeah, that's interesting. No, but you're right, actually, because unless you can go in and actually, there was some, I'm not well versed enough just to pull it off the top of the dome, but, some police officers and their brigades that were very head cracky. You can say they weren't. You're pretty clear about that. But, yeah, I don't know if I've ever met anyone that would happily admit to it either.
I think this will be the same thing in the future. Everyone will just be like, oh, yeah, totally. I was pro Palestine the whole time. Like,
yeah, that's interesting. And then we'll go, no, I won't say that. I'm really, I was about to name and shame someone, but look, I'm being the bigger.
But the difference is social media, right? So like everyone who said anything on this whole thing, it's there and it's out there, and we've all used our names. And so, unlike 1981, there is a record now of everyone's position.
That's true. And back then, you would have had to receive a letter from someone explaining to you why they were pro, and who would have done that?
Yeah.
Hey, Jordan, it's been a lot of fun having you here tonight, man.
It's been great being here. Thanks for having me, man. I was trying to think of when I was on here last. It feels like almost a year ago.
I don't even remember what you were talking about. I can remember you being on.
I think I was saying if we talk about Israel Palestine, then our views will go down because of the algorithm.
And I was gonna we finished the show now, so we won't go into this, but I was gonna talk to you about that tonight as well. It's like the numbers to what we do are down 30-40% when we talk Israel Gaza. They just are. So there's different algorithms it hits, and there is suppressive. Like, it's clear. I can go show by show, or like if we've had a week when we've talked about it, we have a very solid sort of baseline, and when we talk about Gaza, that baseline dips like this, and it's the same every time. So it's really interesting to see that there's still algorithms out there who don't want this conversation to be front and center.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, team, remember as well, we're going to support medical aid for Palestinians if you want to get yourself. And I'm having a look. To be fair, I did 30, and we might have sold half of them already. All right. So if you're interested, we've got hoodies. We've got tees. They are a special based on Mehdi Hasan's words, you can't bomb the truth away. Black and white t-shirts, black and white hoodies, small through 3XL are what's available. If you want anything outside of that, then you feel free to shoot me an email. We'll see what we can do for you. And yeah, get in there. This is not going to be a regular product for the store. It's a bit of a special. No BHM branding on it. That's not what this is about. I expect to see those at this weekend. Oh, actually, probably not this weekend, because I'll probably post them out on Thursday, Friday. Next weekend's marches in the Octagon. Whoever in Dunedin's going to buy them. We might even deliver them. I like turning up to people's houses with merch in Dunedin and freaking them out. It's great fun. It's great fun. Whoa. It's very funny. All right, dude. Hey, if people want to find out more about you, where's the best place to follow you? Is it still TikTok? Is that the place to go?
It's still TikTok until I get completely shadow banned.
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram, but and Facebook, as you mentioned, Facebook's going off now.
Yeah, it is going off, isn't it?
Which is good. I'm getting some of that older audience that I wasn't able to reach in the last election that should really be hearing some of this shit.
Well, that's the other thing. I think we'll both recognise. Like, I look at the last election year, 2023, and how the algorithm grew from the start of the year to the end of the year. I think we'll see that next year. All people who are doing political stuff will see that next year. And where we're going to start from, I think all of us, you included, to where we're going to end up. I think there's going to be a real cut through, which is one of the reasons we want to get as many new faces in front of the audience as possible, because we all want to be supporting everyone to get these words out there, because, the Brie Elliots of the world speak to a different audience than listen to this, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we're about. That's what we're about.
Absolutely.
All right, my dude. I'm going to play the outro song now because, it's part of my job, and I can. This is how it sort of goes.
I like it.
The hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have their hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting bees from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what you impact. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
All right, team. Tomorrow night, we've got Jared Otto in the hot seat. He is going to be co-hosting for us. And it's going to be a fun week. Thank you again, Jordan, mate. It's a pleasure having you on. And
it's an honor to be on, mate. It's an honor to be on.
We'll do it again sometime soon, yeah?
Sounds good.
All right, dude. All the best. All the best, whānau. I'll catch you tomorrow night with Jared from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo!
Peace out.